Hi babies! So I thought I would do a video on mental health and also make it an update about my life since a lot has happened. Ash has won the Aloha League, and I think it's about time if he won a league. But with this news, I'm guessing this upcoming series is going to be Ash's last series. And I think they're going to bring back a lot of old characters and probably going to bring back Serena. And if they do bring back Serena and have them end up together and become canon and get married at the end of the show, I will move on with my life and get a tattoo to represent the death of Poke shipping, like a rest in peace tattoo of the date Ash marries Serena, as that will be the date of the death of Poke shipping. Because I've grown up and I realized the decision of who Ash ends up with belongs to the writers. Sure, they're trying to please the audience, but the art belongs to them, and therefore they have the say to who Ash ends up with. I feel like when I make art of my own, I will understand the complications with making something that you want, that you love, and at the same time trying to please the audience. I think I'll understand, and if they want Ash to be with Serena, then I think they should go all the way with it, and Ash should put a ring on Serena. Because, like I said before, I feel like they've already made such a big deal out of it that if they don't go all the way with it now, it's like everything was one big lie, and that's worse than what they did to Poke shipping. Sometimes I wonder if I did get my happy ending. If let's say we go back to the Johto series and they have it end at the end of the Johto series and Ash and Misty have a love plot and end up getting married at the end. Would I still deal with depression if my dream came true? I think the answer to that question is yes. I would still have depression. It would probably be a very cherished memory of mine, and I probably would have cried if the show ended because I remember crying at the end of Digimon. But life would continue, and I would still need to work on myself, because mental illness is something that's inside you. You can't blame a TV show or a breakup or a loss of a loved one. You can't blame those things on feeling depression, because depression has to do with chemicals in your brain. And sure, those things can trigger it, but you're the only one who can fix it. You can't expect other things to make you happy enough that you don't have depression anymore. And for a very long time, I believed that my depression was, the cause of my depression was Poke shipping. For a very long time. But I realize now that if I had gotten the happy ending I wanted, it wouldn't have satisfied me completely. It would have been a longer lasting high than like buying a cute outfit or getting new bags or shoes, but it wouldn't have helped me learn to love myself. Because, like, for example, I would have probably been like 12 or 13 if the Pokemon ended in Johto, and I would still need to work on myself because I had really bad social skills. I had really bad, I was not at the mental age to learn to love myself. So I have a feeling even if I had gotten the happy ending I wanted, I would still have to work on myself and still have my own journey within myself to try to love and learn myself. And I think what it all boils down to is that I have a really big imagination. It has always been bright and colorful, and I've often been teased for it. I've been made fun of for it, and I think it's something that's beautiful about me, but it's also the one thing about me that is also, I think, plays around with my bipolar and causes me to go into, I have periods where I'm really happy and really creative and very productive, but then I have periods where I'm very sad and very bored and unproductive. But now, embracing my imagination in my fashion and in my art helps me learn to love myself and accept myself. Being weird and dressing weird kind of gives me this power that I feel powerful. I feel like who I want to be, and I feel like it's something, embracing my weirdness and embracing my creativity and what I do is something that's helped me learn to love myself. And even though Ash and Misty aren't real human beings, I have the ability to experience their love as if it's a real thing, because my imagination is that powerful, and I don't think that's something I should be ashamed of. In the year 2000, right before I became a Poke shipper, I developed feelings that helped me be glad that I am alive. And I've always nicknamed this feeling, this magical feeling I get, as the vacation feeling, because I first got it when I was on vacation earlier in the year 2000, right before I became a Poke shipper. And it was on vacation where I started to listen to the radio, and then I was open to so much music that I had never heard before, and that kind of like opened my mind, and I made memories that I still cherish to this day. I feel like in the year 2000, that's when my bipolar started to come out a little bit, because that year I was very, very unusually happy. I even had a dream in the year 2000 where I swear in this dream I was in a state of ecstasy. So basically I had a dream that I was outside at night looking at the starry sky in a field of grass around by a forest. The wind was blowing like as if there was a storm coming. And I look up to the sky and I remember seeing these weird colors in the sky. And it was weirder than anything I've ever seen before. It wasn't like northern lights, because at the time I didn't even know what northern lights looked like. But it was swirling and liquefying, and it was weird, and it was colorful like all the colors of the rainbow. And then I noticed that these colors in the sky are getting closer to me, and I get this overwhelming feeling that I'm about to embark on a huge adventure in outer space. And that's when I started to feel high. I started to feel ecstasy and euphoria. It was like a magical feeling. I was basically at the limit of happiness that I could possibly feel. And that's how you know you're feeling ecstasy. It's amazing what the brain can do, but it's also devastating what the brain can do with your highs and lows. And for me, I have discovered little triggers, positive triggers, to help me cope with the negative feelings, because a lot of people make a big deal out of the negative triggers, like the triggers that are negative, that cause negative emotion, and that's important to address your negative triggers and avoid them. But I also feel like positive triggers are just as important as knowing you're negative, because positive triggers can like revert your brain to something that gives you peace and clarity, and that's something that's very important to know. There's a saying, too much to die for, not enough to live for, and I feel like that is very true. We focus on the negative more than the positive, and these positive triggers, like I started feeling them in the year 2000, and I would always call it the vacation feeling. So positive triggers are people, places, and things that trigger really happy memories for you, and they're not a temporary high. That's the big thing. Like online shopping, alcohol, sex, that's not a real, you can't call that a positive trigger, because the happiness that you get from it does not last very long. So positive triggers are ones that really last a long while, like going for a walk. For me, some of my favorite positive triggers is long car rides, hot baths, going for a walk, or going to the beach. Hotel rooms for some reason give me a magical feeling. Movie theaters, going under tunnel, anything that kind of reminds me, like seeing mountains in the distance reminds me of going on vacation, because you would often see mountains in the distance. But some of these things can be everyday things for me, because I have views of the mountains where I live. I can go for walks, and there's a certain smell of water and dirt that reminds me of the ocean, and that will clear my head. So positive triggers have to be a long-lasting high. They can't be like a temporarily satisfy. They have to satisfy you in the long run, not in the short run. I think one of the reasons why the ocean is so satisfying for people is because when you're at the beach, you're kind of in the present. You're not really thinking about the past. You're not really thinking about the future. You're in the here and now. And that's why I think the beach is so therapeutic for people, is that it kind of like practicing meditation. You're kind of like in the moment, enjoying the beach, the wind, the ocean. It makes you think about the present rather than thinking about the things you're worried about in the past and the things you're anxious about in the future. You need to find simple everyday things to remind yourself that life is not that bad. And when you find out what your positive triggers are, every time you're having a negative emotion or a negative setback, make yourself experience one of these positive triggers, and that will help you get back to a good place. Also, one thing I do, and it's kind of silly, but it has helped me many times, if you're going through a rough period, discover new music during that time to listen to capture the memory of that period. Because in the future, the song will work as a healing remedy for the next time you're feeling sad or depressed. Like for me, this might not work for everyone, but for me, sometimes discovering new music and listening to it later, I call this feeling the bittersweet feeling. It's a bittersweet feeling because you're recalling a time where you were struggling, but at the same time, you're kind of like healing and realizing, oh, I got through that, so I can get through this too. Because for some reason, listening to music from other times where I have felt depressed has given me power and made me feel strong and made me feel like, oh, if I got through it then, I can get through it again. And one of my most favorite songs that I have this bittersweet feeling to is a song called Cold Skin by 7 Lions. This song starts off negative, but then it gets very positive. And one of my favorite lyrics of the song is, "In my room, I seem to drown." And at the time, I was dealing with anxiety to the point that I was getting nauseous. And I was having nightmares, waking up feeling like I couldn't breathe. And so hearing this song and hearing the "in my room, I seem to drown" line made me realize, wow, other people have gone through this. And this song goes positive and says, I'm not gonna let that take me down. And that song has been one of my favorite songs to listen to help me get out of a dark place. But I was in a dark place when I heard it, but I managed to get out of it, and now every time I listen to that song, I realize I can do it again. I also have a weird tradition of dedicating a song to a pet that's passed away. When my first dog I had died, Amber, there was a song on the radio called Amber by 311. And I thought it was weird that I would hear a song called Amber around that time, but I ended up dedicating that song to her passing. And then when my next dog died of leukemia at age 4, Clover, I went online and found a song called Clover by a band named Perspective, and I dedicated that song to Clover. And then when Melissa passed away at age 7 from cancer, I've had bad luck with the dogs. I looked up an artist named Melissa because I couldn't really find a song called Melissa, so I looked up artists named Melissa, and I dedicated some of those songs to my passing of Melissa. But it's just a weird thing I do, and I don't know if it works for everyone, but it's something that, I don't know, helps me cope with the situation. So that's the end of this video. I hope it has helped a little bit. So remember, you're never alone, no matter how alone you feel. No matter how hard it is, stay strong. Always be true to yourself, and remember that you are worthy of self-love.